The rain had been falling for hours, a relentless drizzle that turned the streets slick and reflective under the yellow glow of streetlights. I wiped the condensation from my car windshield, the wipers barely keeping pace with the downpour. It was nearing midnight, and the town felt abandoned, the usual late-night traffic reduced to the occasional blinking headlights on wet asphalt. The pizza shop's phone rang, cutting through the hum of the heater. "Hello? Slice of Heaven Pizza. This is Marcus speaking." A voice, quiet but urgent, responded, "Yes, I'd like one large pepperoni, extra cheese, and please, hurry." "Sure thing, sir. Can I get your address?" There was a pause, long enough that I felt a prickle crawl along my spine. "Seabrook Lane, number 13. I jotted it down. Something about the address felt wrong. Number 13, at the end of a long, winding street that seemed to vanish into the woods. The town's GPS rarely even recognized the road. "I'll be there as fast as I can," I said, trying to mask the unease in my voice. The car's headlights cut through the fog as I navigated the back roads. The air smelled of wet earth and decay, and every shadow seemed alive. I drove slower than usual, feeling that nagging premonition that something was off. Street signs faded into black as the road curved sharply. My GPS kept recalculating. "Recalculating route," it repeated, like a nervous echo mocking me. Finally, I saw it. A house set far back from the road, its windows dark, save for a faint flicker in the upper floor. The paint was peeling, the porch sagging under the weight of time. A single lamp by the door barely illuminated the number. 13. I parked, the engine still running, and grabbed the pizza. The cardboard box felt heavier than it should, almost oppressive. The porch creaked under my steps as I walked to the door. The air was colder here, unnaturally so. I knocked. Silence. Then, slowly, the door opened. A pale woman stood there, her hair hanging in damp, uneven strands, eyes dark and hollow. She didn't speak. She just extended her hand, pointing toward the living room. I stepped inside. The house smelled of mildew and something sharper, metallic. Blood. The flickering lamp revealed furniture draped in dust-covered sheets. Cobwebs in every corner. Shadows that seemed to twist as I moved. I set the pizza on the table. The woman's eyes, they weren't normal. They were too wide, too dark, like pools that had swallowed the light. She pointed to a staircase leading down to a basement. "Delivery downstairs?" I asked, my voice cracking. She nodded. The stairs groaned beneath each step. I hesitated at the bottom, looking into a space consumed by shadows. Something moved there, something that didn't belong. The basement walls were lined with old photographs, dozens of them, yellowed with age. They depicted people I didn't recognize, all staring, mouths slightly open as if frozen in silent screams. Some had the number 13 written in red across them. I shivered and turned to leave, but the door slammed shut. My heart pounded. The air grew thick, oppressive, like I was breathing underwater. A whisper echoed around me, unintelligible at first, then clearer. "Deliver, or stay forever." I stumbled back toward the stairs, but something cold wrapped around my ankle. I fell, dropping the pizza. It hit the floor and slid across the concrete as the lights flickered violently. I could feel a presence in the room, breathing, shifting, circling me. Scrambling to my feet, I noticed the photographs again. One of them. It was me. I stared in horror as the timestamp at the bottom revealed a date decades in the past. My own face, frozen in terror. The whispering grew louder, more insistent. Shadows peeled off the walls like smoke, forming shapes, hands, faces, reaching for me. The woman's eyes appeared in the darkness, staring from everywhere at once. I ran toward the stairs, but each step seemed endless, the basement stretching like a nightmare maze. I tripped, slammed my head, and everything went black. I woke up, drenched in sweat. My jacket soaked from the rain. The street outside was quiet now, the storm having passed, leaving only puddles reflecting the dim light of the porch lamp. My head throbbed from the fall on the basement stairs, and the pizza box was still in my hands. I tried the door. Locked. Of course. My mind raced. What had just happened? Was it a hallucination from the adrenaline, the exhaustion, the storm? I forced myself to calm down. I noticed the living room. Everything seemed normal now. No shadows creeping along the walls, no whispers, just a dusty, abandoned house. I carefully opened the pizza box. Nothing inside except the pizza itself. The box was ordinary, heavy with cheese and sauce. Cautiously, I checked the house. No one there, just the smell of damp wood and mold. My heart was still pounding, but it became clear. The terror hadn't been supernatural. It had been a combination of isolation, exhaustion, and my overactive imagination. Shaking, I grabbed my jacket and ran back to my car. The road back to town was slick but clear, headlights reflecting off the wet asphalt. The house loomed behind me one last time, dark and silent. When I got back to the shop, the clock read 3:47 a.m. I was shaking so badly I nearly dropped the remaining pizza boxes. My manager glanced at me, worried. "Everything okay?" he asked. I nodded slowly, trying to sound normal. "Yeah, just a weird order. Secluded house. Nothing weird, really. But as I cleaned up, I noticed something strange. On the receipt from number 13, scrawled in messy, almost childlike handwriting, was one word I hadn't noticed before. Thanks." I dropped the receipt, my stomach turning. The handwriting didn't match the order at all, and it was familiar. I couldn't place it, but it sent a chill down my spine. I never delivered to number 13 again. But every so often, late at night, I swear I see a light flicker at the end of Seabrook Lane, and my phone rings with unknown numbers. Sometimes the call is just a whisper. "Pizza delivery?" It was a slow Tuesday evening. Most of the city seemed asleep, but I was still on the road, delivering pizza orders that were mostly from hungry, bored college students or late shift workers. My last call had been routine, nothing unusual, until the next order popped up. "Apartment 12B, the order said. I'd delivered there before, a small studio above a dry cleaner. But something about the phone call made my stomach twist. The customer's voice was calm, almost too calm, with a low monotone. "Large meat lovers, please. Extra sauce. Don't hurry, but don't be late," they said. I noted the instructions. They were oddly specific about timing. I shrugged it off. Customers sometimes got weird. The building wasn't particularly old, but the hallway felt narrow and claustrophobic. Fluorescent lights flickered intermittently, humming with a low buzz. Every step I took echoed along the peeling linoleum floors. Apartment 12B's door was ajar when I arrived. Strange. I never leave doors unlocked in a city like this. I knocked lightly. No answer. I stepped in. The apartment was dim, the only light coming from the TV in the corner, casting flickering shadows along the walls. The smell hit me first, clean but faintly metallic, like blood mixed with disinfectant. I called out, "Pizza delivery!" A voice came from the bedroom. "Leave it on the counter." I glanced toward the room. The lights were off, shadows pooling across the floor. I set the pizza down carefully, my eyes scanning the room. No one was there, or at least no one I could see. I was about to leave when I heard it. A soft click, like a lock snapping behind me. The door to the bedroom opened slightly. A figure stood just beyond the doorway, backlit by a faint bluish glow from the street outside. "Thank you for delivering," the voice said again, calm and even. But there was something wrong. The voice didn't match the figure's movements. I took a step back. My gut screamed that this wasn't just a customer alone. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from an unknown number. "Stay a while." I froze. The room seemed smaller now, the walls closing in. The lights flickered faster, and the hum from the fridge sounded like a whisper. I decided I'd had enough. I turned toward the door, but it wouldn't budge. Locked. My heartbeat thundered as I tried the handle again. From the bedroom came a slow, deliberate shuffle. The figure stepped into the dim light. I could finally see it clearly. A tall man, hunched slightly, wearing a mask over his face. One of those surgical masks you see in horror movies, except it didn't look like it was hiding illness. It was hiding intent. The text buzzed again. "Why are you leaving so soon?" I grabbed the pizza box and shoved it at him, backing up. It wasn't enough. He lunged. I stumbled toward the balcony door, fumbling with the lock. The figure followed, silent but deliberate, closing the distance faster than I expected. I managed to throw the door open. The balcony overlooked a courtyard, a 3-story drop to concrete below. My pulse was in my throat. I retreated into the corner of the balcony, panting, realizing something about the man's movements. They weren't random. Every step he took, every shuffle of his feet, was deliberate, almost ritualistic, like he had done this before. A memory hit me. Years ago, there had been a series of disappearances in this building. No one suspected anyone, no evidence, but tenants always whispered about apartment 12B. The texts kept coming. "You shouldn't have ignored the door. You can't leave yet?" I noticed the lights from the neighboring apartments, curtains twitching, some residents peering out, unsure if they were seeing reality or imagination. My hands shook as I realized the truth. The man wasn't just dangerous. He knew me, had planned this, and had been waiting. Adrenaline surged. I backed up to the railing, thinking fast. The fire escape was on the side. One desperate leap could save me. I bolted toward the side door, hearing his footsteps behind me, the whispers from the phone still buzzing in my pocket. I fumbled with the fire escape latch. A hand grabbed my shoulder. I twisted, elbowed, and slipped through just in time. I ran down the rickety metal stairs, my breath ragged, the echo of his shuffle chasing me until I hit the ground. The street below was empty, except for the faint flicker of lights from 12B. I didn't look back, didn't stop until I reached my car. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely start the engine. When I finally made it back to the shop, drenched in rain and sweat, my manager looked up. "You okay, man?" he asked. I swallowed hard, still trembling. "Yeah, just weird building. Weird customer. I never went back to apartment 12B. I never took orders from that block again." A week later, I saw a news report. Police investigate disappearance in downtown apartment. A man had been found, locked inside his own apartment, unconscious, tied up. No signs of forced entry. Authorities were baffled. I froze, realizing the building, the fire escape, the locked doors. It had been a trap. And if I had stayed a second longer, I wouldn't have made it. Sometimes, when I'm delivering late at night, I imagine the apartment building, dark and silent, with lights flickering in 12B. I know he's still there, or maybe someone new has moved in, waiting for the next delivery. It was Friday night, and the city streets were alive with neon lights reflecting off puddles from an earlier rain. I was working the late shift, the last few orders trickling in. Most were routine, hungry students, office workers, or families too tired to cook. Then the order popped up. 29 Elmwood Drive, deliver to front gate, ring bell twice, leave on porch. Tip included odd, I thought. Elmwood Drive was an older part of the city, houses spaced far apart, streetlights dim, sidewalks cracked. I shrugged. Some people like privacy. When I arrived, the street was quiet. Too quiet. One house in particular caught my eye, an old Victorian at the end of the cul-de-sac, shrouded in shadows. Its windows were dark, curtains drawn tight. I parked and grabbed the pizza. The tip was generous, more than enough to tempt me to ignore the creeping sense of unease. The front gate squealed on rusty hinges as I pushed it open. A faded number plate read 29. I walked up the overgrown path to the porch. "Pizza delivery," I called. No response, just the sound of wind through the trees and the faint hum of a streetlight. I set the box down carefully on the porch. That's when I noticed it. A note slipped under the door, written in messy, hurried handwriting. Do not ring the bell. Do not knock again. Leave it and go. My pulse quickened. The instructions matched the order, almost too perfectly. I backed away slowly, eyes scanning the dark windows, feeling like I was being watched. I turned back to my car. Then I heard it, a soft thud from the house, like something heavy moving across the floor. My stomach dropped. I told myself it was a stray animal or the wind. I reached the car and locked the doors. My headlights reflected off the porch. In one brief flash, I thought I saw a figure standing at the window, tall, thin, and still. Then gone. Shaking, I started the engine. The quiet of the street was oppressive, like the city itself was holding its breath. Elmwood Drive had a reputation I'd heard as a kid. Local legend said a man lived at 29 who never left his house. Neighbors swore they'd seen him move inside or that he'd taken packages and left notes for strangers who delivered them. People claimed he lured delivery drivers to disappear. I had laughed at the stories until now. I didn't speed, but I felt eyes on the car as I drove away. Every reflection in a shop window, every shadow under a streetlight made me jump. The city seemed unnervingly quiet. Then my phone buzzed with a text. You left something behind. I dropped it. The pizza box? I checked. It was safely in the back seat. The text number was unknown, no name attached. I tried calling my manager, but the line went dead. Static hissed in my ear, then silence. I glanced in the rearview mirror. For a split second, I thought I saw a figure standing at the edge of the street behind me, then vanish. I told myself I was being paranoid, but the hair on my neck stood on end. I tried to shake the feeling, but it persisted, growing stronger as I drove. At a red light, I looked to my right. There, across the street, I saw the Victorian again. The curtains twitched, just slightly, like someone was peeking. I gasped, hitting the gas as the light turned green. The sensation of being followed was unmistakable now. Shadows seemed to flit along the edges of my vision. I thought about Elmwood Drive's local legend. Delivery drivers disappearing. Notes left under doors. Could it really be true? I tried to rationalize. You're maybe a prankster, someone using urban legends to scare drivers. But every instinct screamed danger. By the time I reached a well-lit avenue, the tension hadn't eased. I pulled into a gas station to collect myself, double-checking my surroundings. The city had returned to normal. Traffic, people walking dogs, neon signs buzzing. I finally calmed enough to call my manager. He answered, casual as ever. Everything okay? I nodded, voice shaking. Yeah, just weird house on Elmwood. Nothing happened. He laughed. People tell stories. It's probably just an old guy trying to freak out delivery drivers. Don't worry about it. I wanted to believe that. I drove home, avoiding Elmwood Drive entirely. Weeks later, I asked around. Longtime residents confirmed. A man lived there alone, reclusive, leaving notes for anyone who delivered food. Some deliveries had gone missing in the past, though there was never proof of foul play. I never delivered to that street again. But I kept hearing the urban legend among other drivers. The truth? Probably mundane. A paranoid old man. But every time I see a delivery note left under a door or a shadow flit across a quiet street, I can't help remembering that night and wondering if some legends aren't entirely made up.
Thank you for watching C&T Horror Stories. Please like and subscribe for more stories.